is Kai, and I make ASMR videos. I hope that you're doing really well today or tonight, or whenever we're sitting down together. I wanted to make a fall book haul. I have a whole ton of books that in truth I have been accumulating over the past couple of months, but I recently took a trip to Barnes & Noble to really round out the haul. And I feel like I've been really sticking to my not buying quite as many books as I have in the past, but every time I do, you know that I'm going to share them with you. I simply can't not. So, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. It means so much to me. You have no idea. And without further ado, let's get into it. I'm gonna start with this one because it's just giving me so much fall vibes. This is Vicious by the Schwab. I can't remember who I heard talk about this book. It might have been Haley Jane. Shout out. And I don't know that I've read anything by the Schwab, though she's written quite a few books that are very well regarded. And I picked this one up so long ago, in truth, that I don't actually remember what drew me to it. So I will read you the back. Victor and Eli started out as college roommates, brilliant, arrogant, lonely boys who recognized the same sharpness and ambition in each other. In their senior year, a shared research interest in adrenaline, near-death experiences, and seemingly supernatural events reveals an intriguing possibility that under the right conditions, someone could develop extraordinary abilities. But when their thesis moves from the academic to the experimental, things go horribly wrong. I'm not a big reader of, well, I was gonna say like thriller or horror or mystery, crime, and then I realized that it kind of is an overarching bubble that I generally don't read stressful books, and this book sounds like a little stressful. Not to say that I don't love a good depressing novel, a good angsty, heart-aching novel. I do, but things that are about death or murder, that's not my wheelhouse reading wise. But this feels like it maybe touches on that a little bit. It's a really beautiful book too. This is, I believe, a duology. And the second book is called Vengeful. There might be more books in the series, I actually don't know. The next book that I got this one a while ago as well. But I had a gift certificate from my godmother to go to a local bookstore and get a couple of books. It was actually a really thoughtful gift. Maybe I've already mentioned it. I feel like I have. But she gave me a gift card to a bookstore, but then wrote me a list of books that she's been reading recently and enjoying, and a little blurb of why she enjoyed them. And it made a gift that can sometimes feel impersonal, of a gift card, feel really thoughtful and lovely and obviously, I mean, please, I will take a gift card to a bookstore literally any day and consider that a thoughtful gift, but to have the books that she had been reading and enjoying recently along with it was just such a treat. This book was not on that list, because I had also read many of the books that she's been reading recently. But this is Wolfsong by DJ Klune. And in truth, I might have picked up this book because it has sprayed edges. Is that what it's called? Sprayed edges. And I love it. I think it's beautiful. I love a DJ Klune novel. Always, always, always. And this one was also giving me like Warrior Cats vibes. It's a series about wolves, and I don't really know much more about it beyond that. But I'm really excited. I think there's 5 books already. Oh, interesting. On the back, there's a somewhat large square that inside of it says that the Green Creek series is for adult readers. Okay. So it says the Bennett family has a secret. They're not just a family, they're a pack. Wolfsong is Ox Matheson's story. Oxnard Matheson was 12 when his father taught him a lesson. Ox wasn't worth anything, and people would never understand him. Then his father left. Ox was 16 when the energetic Bennett family moved in next door, harboring a secret that would change him forever. The Bennetts are shapeshifters. They can transform into wolves at will. Drawn to their magic, loyalty, and enduring friendships, Ox feels a gulf between this extraordinary new world and the quiet life he's known. But he finds an ally in Joe, the youngest Bennett boy. Ox was 23 when murder came to town and tore a hole in his heart. Violence flared, tragedy split the pack, and Joe left town, leaving Ox behind. 3 years later, the boy is back. Except now he's a man, charming, handsome, but haunted. And Ox can no longer ignore the song that howls between them. I have chills. Wow, okay. Wow. I don't know that I actually know what that book is about. I think that I just grabbed it because it was beautiful. And I love DJ Klune. That same trip to the bookstore, courtesy of my godmother, I got this book by Maggie Smith. This is a book of essays, I believe. It's called You Could Make This Place Beautiful. I guess it's a memoir. But it's a memoir that's comprised of pretty short essays, I think, so that's cool. Maggie Smith is the author who wrote the poem Good Bones. That is how I know her most fully. I wish that I had that poem right here and could like read it to you because it's so goddamn good. But You Could Make This Place Beautiful is a line in Good Bones, and I'm kind of curious if Good Bones is in this because no, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, it's a beautiful poem. Anyway, I've not opened this up yet, but I thought it was also just a beautiful book. So it says on the back, in her long-awaited debut memoir, You Can Make This Place Beautiful, award-winning poet Maggie Smith explores in lyrical vignettes the end of her marriage and the beginning of a surprising new life. A story that starts with Smith's personal, particular heartbreak quickly grows into a reckoning with contemporary womanhood, family, work, and patriarchy. With the spirit of reflection and empathy she's known for, and a razor-sharp wit, Smith interweaves snapshots of a life with meditations on secrets, anger, forgiveness, and narrative itself. You Could Make This Place Beautiful is an unflinching look at what it means to live and write our own lives. is a story about a mother's fears and constant love for her children, and a woman's love and regard for herself. Above all, this memoir is an argument for possibility. With the poet's attention to language and a transformation of the genre, Smith reveals how, in the aftermath of loss, we can discover our power and make something new, something beautiful. I really love reading poets' prose. One poet in particular, my favorite author, Hanif Abdurraqib, if you haven't read any of his poetry or prose, highly, highly, highly recommend. He's just a gem. But I love reading his prose because it's so lyrical and poetic, and I think that I read his essays before I read his poetry, and then I read his poetry, and then coming back to the essays, like I read them in college while I was taking some English and like creative writing courses, and I think it just informed so much of my own writing and work. That you can bring that like beauty of language to to topics that are important to you, and to talk about things that you see in the world. Like, I think up until that point in college, I really believed that to write about important things, you have to use like really formal writing, always. Anyway, so I love reading poets write prose. Yeah. Very excited for that. Okay, next. I'm going to show you some of the things that I've found in the Little Free Library recently, because, oh my god, she has been delivering to me on a silver platter. The most recent book that I found is this book, You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty, by Akwaeke. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Emezi. And I remember seeing this in like one of those TikToks that was like books for something, and this was in a book of like, it was the way that whoever had categorized it, they were like, it's like, I can't remember, I just remember them saying it was a very like hot book, that it was very like salacious. I'll read you the back. I don't really know what it's about. Faye Adekula wants to learn how to be alive again. It's been 5 years since the accident that killed the love of her life, and she's almost a new person now. An artist with her own studio, sharing a brownstone apartment with her best friend, Joy, who insists it's time for Faye to ease back into the dating scene. Faye isn't ready for anything serious, but a steamy encounter at a rooftop party cascades into a whirlwind summer she could never have imagined. A luxury trip to a tropical island, decadent meals in the glamorous home of a celebrity chef, and a major curator who wants her to launch her art career. She even started dating the perfect guy, but their new relationship might be sabotaged before it has a chance. By the dangerous thrill Faye feels every time she locks eyes with the one person in the house who is most definitely off limits, his father. Okay, wait. How far is Faye willing to go for a second chance at love? Akwaeke is Emezi's vivid and passionate writing takes us deep into a world of possibility and healing, and the constant bravery of choosing love against all odds. Damn. I'm ready to read this right now. I'm opening it up. We're reading. I just remember someone on TikTok saying that this book was super hot. I'm reading the back of it. It sounds super hot. I also found in a Little Free Library this very beautiful edition of The Alchemist by Paolo Coehlo. I don't know how to say his last name. But I know that this is a really highly regarded book. I guess this is the 25th anniversary edition, and it's so beautiful. Okay, look at this book. And then here's the back, and it has a quote on the back from it. It says, "To realize one's destiny is a person's only obligation," from The Alchemist. I don't really know what this book is about either, but I've heard so many people say it's one of their favorites, and it's such a slim little volume, and it's beautiful. It has deckled edges, which is kind of a miss for me, but it does add to the whole ambiance of the book, and it has something that I love, which is a paperback that has the fold out thing so you can bookmark it. I love that. But yeah, I tried to start this recently, but I've been reading too much like smutty romance, and it was just like too hard of a pivot. But maybe after I finish the book I'm reading right now, which I will show you here in just a minute, maybe I'll try this again. It feels like a really fall-time book. It's about a shepherd. Okay, I'll read you the inside flap. Fine. Paolo Coehlo's enchanting novels inspired a devoted following around the world. This story, dazzling in its powerful simplicity and soul-stirring wisdom, is about an Andalusian shepherd boy named Santiago who travels from his homeland in Spain to the Egyptian desert in search of treasure buried near the pyramids. Along the way, he meets a gypsy woman, a man who calls himself king, and an alchemist, all of whom point Santiago in the direction of his quest. No one knows what the treasure is or if Santiago will be able to surmount the obstacles in his path. But what starts out as a journey to find worldly goods turns into a discovery of the treasure found within. Lush, evocative, and deeply humane, the story of Santiago is an eternal testament to the transforming power of our dreams and the importance of listening to our hearts. When was this book written? Like a 25th anniversary edition. When was that? How old is this book? I guess is what I mean. It was written in 1993. Oh, so now it's 30 years old. Is that how time works? Yeah. Wow. Cool. It's just also such a beautiful copy of this book. Okay, this was kind of a come up. Let me just say, it's maybe only a come up for me, and maybe it doesn't really belong in a book haul, but in a little free library recently, I found not one, not two, not three even. I found 7 copies of Poetry Magazine from October 2023 to July. No, wait, that's not how it works. Okay. Nope. Wait, are these in order? Sorry, someone please send help. There's October 23, November 23, May 23, January 23, April 23, June 23, July, August 23. I guess these are all the ones from 2023. Right? Now I want to like organize them. These are some of them from 2023. I love Poetry Magazine. I love opening it up and just seeing what I see and seeing what I read. And these have just been sitting in a pile around my apartment, and I've picked it up on occasion and read a poem and been absolutely bamboozled and then set it back down. I love reading poetry. I think that has probably been mentioned before, but I'll say it once and I will say it again. I also didn't know that Adrian Matika is the editor of Poetry Magazine, or at least was in 2023, which is really cool. I really respect his work. Anyway, one of the first poets that I ever read actually for an English class was Adrian Matika back in like 2014. Yeah, anyway, so this felt like a gigantic come up. I have thought many a time about doing a poetry reading video, like reading you some poems, and I'm not exactly sure how that works in terms of like copyright, and that's stuff for me to figure out and not for you to worry about at all. But if you'd be interested in me doing that, please let me know. I would really like to. I love to read poetry. It's so great, but I know that that's not everyone's cup. And now I have 7 volumes things of poems from 2023 to read, so. Okay, and then the last book is Funny Story, Emily Henry's new book, which I was so excited to find in a little free library, because it's new. But we love Emily Henry in this house. I still have a happy place to read, at least. The only thing that's a qualm for me, and a thing that I've recently decided, is that I'm not going to buy hardback books. Now, this is an exception because I didn't buy this. I got it for free. But you may notice in my book haul of things that I bought, I still have a couple more books that I've bought to show you. No hardback books. And even new releases, like Sally Rooney's new book, Intermezzo, just came out. So excited to read it. I had half a mind to buy the hardcover, and I was like, bitch, you hate hardcover books. Like, truly, truly hate. And like, I don't know if this happens to you, but sometimes when I identify something that I don't like, suddenly it turns to hate so quickly. And like, just in the vein of realizing that I don't like it, suddenly I'm like, and I hate it anyway, whatever, that's something about me. But I recently realized that I don't like hardcover books, and it's quickly turned into hate, I guess. I did get Hanif Abdurraqib's new book in hardcover. I did do that, but I wanted to read it right after he released it, so. But there's been more books now that I like decide to like get on my Kindle when they're a new release, and then I'll get the paperback if I really, really want to down the road. That being said, a hardback novel does sound nice. There's always something to be said for that. Okay, and then recently I took my little self to Barnes & Noble because I wanted to get one book in particular. The book I wanted to get in particular, you ask, it's this specific edition of Bloodmarked with the sprayed edges. I keep wanting to call them painted edges. I just finished Legendborn pretty recently and loved. I think I mentioned it, but I loved it. And so I was eager to get my hands on the second novel, and then I saw that on Barnes & Noble they had this special edition with these beautiful sprayed edges in like the pattern that is the like first page of each chapter. Like, I don't know what this is called. Do you know what that's called? Anyway, I'm excited to read the second book. I've heard it's really good as well. And I super enjoyed the first book. I can't remember if I've done a reading wrap-up since I finished it, because now I just want to yap about the first book. Anyway, I'm not going to read you the back because it's the second book, so if you haven't read the first book, I don't want to spoil it. But the series is about this young black girl who's in college, and her mother dies right before she's supposed to go away to this early college program at UNC, and she quickly becomes entangled with this secret society of magic. But the story is so much about grief, about her processing her grief, and kind of like reconnecting with her family and her roots. But also I think like really eloquently like talks about racism and like systemic and structural racism, but like through the lens of this kind of fantastical world. But it mirrors like our world very perfectly, or not perfectly, but very like, I don't know, I think it's very like deftly done. It's like, it's a fantastic series, and it's a YA series. Like, I had to go fully into the YA section and like ask a teenager to move because they were sitting in front of where this book was on the shelf. I felt really bad, but like it's a YA novel, and so I really was skeptical, and it's exceptional. I think it's so good. I did have to refilm the end of this video because my camera turned off. A+. Anyway, I think I was left off talking about tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. This book is exceptional. I'm reading it right now. I also picked this up at Barnes & Noble. I did get it partly because of the sprayed edges. I think this edition of the book is beautiful. I love a paperback book, and it is what it is. I'm reading it right now. I think it's such a beautiful testament to friendship, to like the really important relationships we have in our lives, and that really like define and shape our lives, that like aren't necessarily romance, or like aren't necessarily romantic, I guess. I really am loving this book, and I feel like it has all of the kind of like nuance and introspection of like a Sally Rooney novel, but like without the pretension of a Sally Rooney novel, if that makes sense. It's a really beautiful book. It's about two friends, Sadie and Sam. They're childhood friends, and then they like reconnect again as young adults and decide to build a video game together. And honestly, I don't think you have to like video games at all for this book to still be super resonant. Case in point, my mom really loves this book, and while she is a legend at Mario Kart, she's not a video game person at all, but I think they like the story of the friendship, the partnership, and just also kind of the story of their work together is so vibrant. I don't know, everyone that I know is reading this right now. One of my friends just texted me and told me she was reading it. Like, I know Fleur was reading it a little bit ago. My mom just read it. My dad is now going to read it because my mom loved it. I'm reading it. You should read it too. Anyway, it's also a beautiful edition of this book. It's from Barnes & Noble, and I think that they still have it, so you could get it if you want it. The next book I picked up because I'd heard a couple things about it, but mostly I picked it up because I was very drawn to it. This book is called The Rachel Incident by Caroline O'Donoghue, and I don't really know what it's about in a big way. I remember that I grabbed it though because it had to do with someone being in their 20s and then having a crush on their professor. And listen, I'd be lying if I said I haven't had a crush on my English professor. Anyway, everyone's got to do it. I'll read you the back. Cork, Ireland. It's Christmas 2009, and Rachel Murray is a 20-year-old who has just discovered teenage rebellion. Her quiet life as a dependable girlfriend, employee, student, and daughter has just been upended by her sudden friendship with fellow bookstore colleague James Devlin. On a whim, James asks her to move in with him. James is in the closet, and Rachel doesn't mind. When Rachel falls in love with her married professor, Dr. Fred Byrne, James helps her devise a reading at their local bookstore with the goal that she might seduce him afterwards. But Fred has other desires. So begins a series of secrets and compromises that intertwine the fates of James, Rachel, Fred, and Fred's glamorous, well-connected bourgeois wife. Is that how you say that word? Bourgeois. Bourgeois. Like, I'm so used to saying bougie. Or like bourgeoisie. That like bourgeois. That's what that word is, right? Total sidebar. Aching with unrequited love, shot through with delicious, sparkling humor. The Rachel Incident is a triumph. I really got this book as the cover, I'll be real. Listen, a messy pun in multicolored text and being in love with your professor. Sign me the fuck up. The last book I have to show you is this memoir. Is it a memoir? I'm not sure. By Chee. That's called How to Write an Autobiographical Novel. And honestly, once again, I was super brought in by like the cover and the layout of this book. Like, I was perusing the poetry section, I think, and this was in it, which kind of surprised me. I guess at Barnes & Noble. But it's not, it's a series of essays about writing, and about the author, Chee, about his kind of experience as a writer and as a learner. And he kind of weaves these stories of his life into kind of larger ideas about writing, but like in a super deft way, in a really like, in a way that doesn't feel heavy-handed. And he's a novelist as well. He's also written The Queen of the Night and a book called Edinburgh, I believe. But yeah, I've never read either of his novels. I don't know, this book just kind of called to me, I think because the second essay is about tarot, and I'm a tarot girl, and it just compelled me. So I've read a couple of the essays in this book. It's a series of essays. Maybe one might call it a memoir, I guess. It doesn't really feel super memoir-y. It feels more like a book of essays. And I've read a couple of them, but now that I'm reading tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, it's kind of consumed me, and so I haven't really gotten back to this book. But I really enjoyed the couple of essays that I read. They were also really nice as kind of like standalone pieces. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to reading more of this. And it has, once again, one of my favorite things a paperback book can have, which is an inside flap in a paperback book. I think that's elite. I think it's the best. This was a finalist for both the Penn Literary Award and the Lemme Literary Award. That's really cool. But yeah, those are all of the books that I wanted to show you. Let me know if you've read any of these, or if you plan to. Let me know what's on your TBR, or what books you've bought recently, or what you're reading